It's not often that Air Force One becomes a stage for Middle East diplomacy, but this weekend, it did. As his plane stopped to refuel in Doha, US President Donald Trump met Qatar's Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani and Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, and used the moment to thank them for what he called incredible work in securing a ceasefire in Gaza. Trump praised Qatar as a very big factor in bringing what he described as peace to the Middle East.
And we've done a lot together especially in the last year. What we've done is incredible. Peace to the Middle East. And they were a very big factor in it, so I just want to thank you.
For his part, the Emir said the meeting was a good opportunity to follow up on peace plans, strengthen cooperation, and ensure that the Gaza ceasefire holds. But behind the smiles and statements lies a question: what exactly has Qatar helped to broker, and how stable is this so-called peace? Even as leaders met aboard Air Force One, Israeli strikes on Gaza continued. At least one Palestinian was killed and 4 others injured in an Israeli attack on a vehicle in the Nuseirat refugee camp. Israel said it was targeting a member of Islamic Jihad, but for civilians in Gaza, it was yet another reminder that the ceasefire exists mostly on paper. Trump told reporters the truce will continue to hold, and if it doesn't, he said, Hamas will not be hard to take care of.
It'll hold, yeah. Oh, it's going to hold. Well, if it doesn't hold, if it does hold, that would be Hamas. And Hamas will be not hard to take care of. It will be very quickly. But I hope it holds for Hamas, too, because, they gave us their word on something, and they said they took out gang members. Well, I hope that's right. But they gave us their word on something, so I think it's going to. And if it doesn't, then they'll have a very big problem.
That warning came as his top officials, Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, visited Israel this week to make sure the U.S. ally sticks to the deal and to plan what comes next. This next phase, according to Washington, includes 2 controversial elements: the disarmament of Hamas and the possible deployment of an international security force to Gaza. Trump hinted that Qatari forces, along with troops from other nations, could be part of that force. He added that leaders were being selected and that deployment could happen pretty quickly. But experts say many details remain unclear, from who would lead the force to how it would operate inside a war zone that's far from stable. On the ground, Israeli restrictions on aid deliveries continue to cripple Gaza. Food, fuel, and medicine trickle in at a fraction of what's needed, while much of the territory lies in ruins. For many Palestinians, the ceasefire hasn't brought peace, just pauses between bombings. Qatar's mediating role has been central since the start of the war, hosting talks between Hamas, Israel, and US officials. Now, Washington is leaning even harder on Doha to keep the fragile truce alive. But tensions remain. Israel has demanded Hamas return the bodies of Israelis killed or captured in the October 7th attacks. Hamas says it needs time to reach areas still cut off by Israeli bombardment, a sign of how fractured Gaza remains after nearly 2 years of war. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the US is already drafting a possible UN resolution or international agreement to authorize the multinational force, a requirement for several countries whose domestic laws demand such a mandate before sending troops.
UNRWA is not going to play any role in it. The UN is here. The UN is. We're seeing the work they're doing. The World Food Program. There's also not-profit NGOs, humanitarian assistance organizations that are involved in this, Samaritan's Purse. So it's a conglomeration of about 8 to 12 groups that are here. The United Nations is here. They're on the ground. We're willing to work with them if they can make it work, but not UNRWA. UNRWA became a subsidiary of Hamas.
Rubio now heading to Qatar to finalize details. Qatar's government confirmed that the Air Force One meeting covered efforts to consolidate the agreement to end the war in Gaza and ensure all sides implement its terms. For Trump, the message is simple: the ceasefire is proof his administration can do what others couldn't, broker peace in the Middle East. For Qatar, it's proof of something else: that a small Gulf state can still play a big diplomatic role in the world's toughest conflict. But on the ground, the ceasefire remains fragile. Israeli attacks continue, aid convoys struggle to enter, and the people of Gaza still wait for the promise of peace to become reality. For now, Qatar's diplomacy and America's confidence hold the ceasefire together. But as past wars have shown, in Gaza, truces are easier to announce than to keep.